I'm having flashbacks. Last time we spoke, I think it was maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. Prices were already declining, but they certainly weren't this bad. Bitcoin was up at $30,000 still. Alts were probably 50% or 100% higher. I'm having flashbacks. I asked you, what would be one really bearish sign? If something happened, is there any on-chain chart you're looking at, or is there anything out there that would just really make you think we're about to dump? And we were looking at Bitcoin whales and how much Bitcoin they were adding, which was a positive thing at 30K. And we were watching this chart go up. Do Kwon was buying Bitcoin. You had all these whales buying Bitcoin. And you said, well, if this thing turns around, probably not a good sign. And I think that's exactly what happened. Bitcoin whale started offloading. What happened there?
So this has been a pretty good indicator throughout the last year or so. They had bought throughout all of mid to the end of 2020, sold the entire kind of distribution top at the beginning of 2021, bought back the summer lows all the way up until about the end of September of last year, and then sold down through the entire end of the year, bought back the bottom in January, sold back the kind of range we were in on that push up to 47K. And then afterwards, when we had recorded, they had started adding to their holdings again. But, it turned out in retrospect, a lot of that adding had turned out to just be the Luna Foundation Guard and Do Kwon. And so what had happened is shortly after we recorded, we had the whole Luna debacle. And with that, basically the entire move up in their holdings just completely reversed in a matter of a day or two. Which was pretty remarkable. So it turned out to be pretty much mostly just Do Kwon buying, and after we saw that reversal, we've just seen continued downside. So
yeah, Bitcoin has such a reflexivity where not only when smaller participants, when retail, when mainstream gets excited about it, you see some people start buying, and then because those people are buying, it actually does improve fundamentals. So more people start buying. It's the same thing with whales, right? Like Do Kwon adds to his holdings that probably had some other large Bitcoin players, institutional players want to start buying. When he has to reverse, when Luna blows up and he has to sell all his Bitcoin, it's like not only did it wipe out all the Bitcoin he added, but then other whales see that and they also have to start selling. So it was a massive fake out, one of the worst ones I've maybe ever seen in crypto. The sell-off we're seeing right now this month is rivaling the March 2020 crash. I think we're down 30% in 3 days. That happened over the weekend. The March 2020 crash, we were down 40% in 3 days. So this is this is up there with one of the worst sell-offs we've ever had, dude.
It's definitely been the worst that I've seen. Completely trumps, the summer of last year. And, I think part of that has just been seeing several large players get blown out and some players that you kind of saw as invincible. And the 3AC stuff, I mean, it's super unfortunate. I think Sue's an incredible intellect in the space and someone that I look up to a lot. Him and Kyle built their fund out of essentially like their closet and ran it up to multi-billion-dollar fund. I hope the best for them, but seeing someone like that on that caliber, having issues, it just kind of makes you a little uneasy that if someone of that level of intellect could go under, then anybody can, and that's kind of been super eye-opening over the last week.
It's created a setup, and I tweeted about this earlier, where in crypto there's a very consistent strategy that works. And what happens is when you take on too much risk, when you invest too much, is you're sometimes forced to sell when you don't want to sell. Like if prices drop too much, you have to sell. If prices get too high and you shorted, you have to buy. So you're forced to do the worst action at the extremes. That's like the worst case you can be. And it's a very consistently profitable strategy for funds, which usually have deep pockets and long time horizons. They can come in and say, wow, there's a lot of people getting liquidated here. There's a lot of people bearish here. I'm just going to buy because I know in 2 years this will work out, right? It's a weird setup right now with some of these funds and protocols and centralized companies getting blown up, where you have the deep pockets are now in that situation where they're forced sellers after things are down 85%, where they have to unwind. It's not often that you get this setup in crypto where if you do have some money, you're able to like wind back the clock in a way. You're able to, have entries that you wouldn't have been able to get unless you were here a year, 2 years prior. In that sense, I'm optimistic, right? It creates some good opportunities, but at the same time, as you said, just absolutely brutal these past couple weeks.